So let's look at the next topic, which is going to be arrangement. Now arrangements are basically of two types. One is circular. So let's start with the linear. So before we start with the linear arrangement, there are some things that should all remember very carefully, which is the part of the orientation. Now when I talk about orientation, there are certain things which is very important. For example, so this is what the standard orientation that we follow, which is when somebody is facing north. So exactly opposite to that will be south. On the left side it will be west, and on the right hand side it will be east. Similarly, if let's say we are facing south, then opposite to that will be north, then on the left hand side, and on the right hand side west. So basically, why all of this is important? Because say while solving the question, they might mention a statement that okay, facing in south direction. So when they talk about south direction, this is the orientation that we are supposed to consider. And further in the data, they will be saying that this person is basically third from the west. Now, if I consider this orientation, I know for a fact that right side is west. What I have to do is third from the west. So that means third from the right hand side is something that I should be picking out for a particular person as the position. And hence to know all of this very carefully, which is left and which is right, these all orientations will be very important. So make a note of that before we go to the next part. Okay, so without further delay, let's start with the next part. So we've already seen these orientations. We are supposed to mark the position. So always imagine yourself in these all positions before we learn to mark the position. So the first position, let's assume this is where you are sitting facing like this, and we have to mark the first position, which is seated to your left. Now with this particular orientation, as you all can clearly see, that left has to be this particular side. This is going to be your left side, but they have not specified anything whether it is immediate or which side, so you have to consider all the position. It's a general one. Same goes for the next one. X is seated to your right, so again side has to be your this side. So again they have not specified which exactly on the right side, so you'll have to consider all these. It can be in those positions. Next representation, X is seated to your immediate left. Now they are being more specific. So immediate, this one, immediately on the right hand side, the next position. Next orientation or the marking that we have to see is this one. X is seated two places to your left. Now mind, X to your left is second place specified in the direction as well. The next one, X is seated having a gap of two places to your left. So gap of two places, that means on the third place. Next one, X is seated two places to your right. So second place on the right side, and X is seated leaving a gap of places to your right. That means on the third place on the right hand side. Something like this. Okay, moving to the next part. X is seated two places away from you. Now, two places away is, mind you, second position only. So remember this very carefully. So second place, but they have not specified which side, whether it is right. So it's a general one. So you have to consider both the scenarios, either on the left or either on the right. Next one, X is seated leaving a gap of two places from you. So that means third position, but again they have not specified which side. So you have to consider both left as well as right. So these are the kind of marking of the positions that you will have to learn, you will have to remember before we approach the questions. So now that you have understood this particular part, let's look at the questions. So pause this video and read the question and try and represent the data. So first statement, 5 friends doesn't really have any. The statement which is we should start is the next one, which is Sahadev is to the right of Yudhishthir, and if you can see that they all are facing towards north side, and so this is how it should be. So Sahadev is on the immediate right of the Yudhishthir. Next info, only Bhim is between Arjun and Nakul. So, but again, they have not specified the left and right, so there can be two variations for that, either this or this, as you can see. And the last one, only between Bhim and Sahadev. So there also going to be two different scenarios for that as well. All we have to do is try and combine everything. So when we consider this particular possibility, all the cases have been satisfied, all the restrictions have been satisfied, except the last one, which is of Nakul's case, not in between, he's at the end. So this is the orientation. So let's do this one and let's introduce the other part, which is one. Now when we put it all together, you'll see that all rest have been, and hence this has to be the final arrangement. As you can clearly see, they all are facing north. So means Sahadev is to the immediate right of Yudhishthir. Nakul is between Sahadev and Bhim. Bhim is between Nakul and Arjun. So the final arrangement that we get is this one, which is YSNB. Okay, now let's look at the questions. So the first question is, who's at the extreme right end of the arrangement? So who's at the extreme right end of the arrangement? So answer is Arjun. Second one, who's in middle? So as you can clearly see, Nakul is in the middle. Third question, which is more based on the language of the question, which of the following statements can be dispensed with to find the answers of the above question? So basically, of dispense can be the information that we had at the very beginning of the question, out of which is that useless information. If that was not even given in the data, you still could have understood the arrangement, or you still could have arrived at this one. So basically you have to understand what is that useless piece of information which we don't require at all to find this. So the answer has to be the first statement, because it is not really very important, because even if they wouldn't have given that, you still would have reached this arrangement. So any other statement after that is very crucial. Now why it is very crucial, let me go back to that and explain you. So what's the statement? So first one is the correct one, that you can discard or you cannot use that. The second statement, that they are standing in a row facing north, basically that it's a linear arrangement because they are standing in a row in a single line, so linear arrangement. And the other three below that are very important to figure out the arrangement, like who's beside whom and who's between whom and all of that kind of thing. So the first one is the correct, which is useless. I hope you understood this set. If you have not, please watch this video one more time. I'm very sure you will understand it very properly. With the arrangement topic, the second part of arrangement is circular arrangement. Now again, let's look at how we are supposed to mark the positioning. So by default, there are going to be two sub scenarios when I talk about circular arrangement. One is going to be facing inside and one is going to be facing outside. So let's look at the first scenario, which is facing inside. So again, as usual, imagine yourself at this particular position and you are facing inside. The first position that we are supposed to mark is something like this, which is X is seated to your left. Now if you imagine yourself in this position and facing in, left is going to be your this particular direction. Now they have said that X is seated to your left, but ironically they have not specified which position exactly. And as we have seen in the linear arrangement position marking concept, you know that there can be all scenarios which are possible, which might be either on the immediate left or two places to the left and so on. So it can be any of these position because they have not specified anything. If I talk about only this particular position, it's a bit of interest, because even though it is 7th to the left, but it is also to the immediate right. And hence, to avoid this conflict, there's a particular uh, exception that we have to make here, which is only for the circular arrangement and not for the linear arrangement, which is that if they specify something like this, that X is seated to your left, but they don't specify which position exactly, only in circular arrangement you are supposed to consider the immediate next position. So if they say something like that, X is seated to your left, you have to always consider as immediate left. Same goes for the right side as well. X is seated to your right, only for circular arrangement it has to be on the immediate right. The other part, which is marking the position, which is two places to the left and all of that, will remain the same as it was for the linear arrangement. So no change whatsoever for that. Now one more part, let's say this is one, X is seated two places to your left, so you clearly know that this has to be the correct one. Two places to your right is this one. Now let's do some small change. Let's change, instead of you sitting at the bottom, let's make you sit at the very top, but you are still facing inside only. Now if I ask you to mark, let's say X is seated two places to your left, you will be surprised that it is going to be this particular side, and X is seated two places to your right, it is going to be this particular side. Now again there's some confusion which might be there, which is if you are sitting here, this was your two places to the left and this was your two places to the right. But the moment you shift here, this becomes your two places to the right, sorry, left, and this becomes your two places to the right. So again, there's a confusion, left or right and all of that. Again, to avoid this confusion, what we can generalize actually is that, let's imagine you are sitting here and you are facing inside, and you know that this was your left side and this was your right side. And if you are sitting here and you are facing inside, this is your left and this is your right. So what we can actually generalize is that if you look from this particular perspective, what you can say that whether you're sitting here or here or here or here, left is always this direction, which is clockwise direction, and right is always going to be anti-clockwise direction. And this is something we can generalize as well when it comes to the circular arrangement part. So this is something that you will have to remember going forward as well, that no matter where I'm sitting in the circular arrangement, but as long as I'm facing the center, left is always going to be the clockwise part and right is always going to be the anti-clockwise part. So remember this scenario, because this is going to help you to solve the question in an easier format. Now, as I've told, there's a second condition for circular arrangement, which is facing outside. And facing outside, everything is going to go exactly opposite of facing inside. So facing outside, left is going to be anti-clockwise and right is going to be clockwise, and vice versa. So remember any one thing, no need to remember both of the scenarios. You can remember one part, and for facing outside, you can just take exact opposite of that and you are good to go. I hope you have understood the marking of the positions very clearly. Now let's look at the question. So this is the question. I would request you to pause the video right now, read the question, and then we can look for the solution part. Okay, so here's how we are supposed to go about the solution of this one. So as I can see that 8 people, and they all are sitting around the circle facing the center. So 8 people are there, and then there is some data which is given about them. Now the best part about circular arrangement is that I can start with any of the position, and I can start with any of the position, and the alignment will just adjust accordingly. So let's start with the first data, which was this one, that T is to the right of F and second to the left of W. So this is about T. So T, we have been given two positions with respect to, one is with respect to F and one is with respect to W. So you can, as I've told you, you can start with any of the position. It doesn't matter actually. So this is where, let's say F, and T is third to the right of F. So F is facing inside, everybody is facing inside, and we already know that facing inside right is anti-clockwise. So T is third to the right of F. So on the right, 1, 2, and 3, this is where T should be. And there's one more position they have given, second to the left of W. So this is again T's position, and left facing inside, if you remember, left was clockwise direction. So clockwise, so T has to be on the left of W. So W is going. So this is the first statement. Second statement, that as you can see, P and R are not neighbors of W. So P and R are not neighbors of W. So this is where W is, and they are saying that immediate to W, P and R should not be there. So again, here also P and R cannot be. Okay. Next statement, J is between W and K. So this is where W is. J is between W and K. So W is here. K is going to be here, and this is where who will sit? J is going to sit here, basically. So as you can clearly see. And now the last one. R is third to the right of K. R is third to the right of K. Now once we know K, K is facing also inside. His right will be here, somewhere here. So third to the right of K, 1, 2, and 3. This is where R should be. I hope I'm very clear about that, and it is very visible. And last one, P and R are not neighbors of W, which we had already seen. So people are left now, which is P and V. So as this is where not come, so this is where V should come, and this is where P should come, as these are the only two people who are left out. So once again, this is how the final arrangement would look like, and now we can answer the questions. The first question, which of the following is the correct position of P with respect to K's position? So this is where K is, he is facing inside and anti-clockwise direction. So second to the right should be the correct answer. So second to the right is the correct answer option. Next question, which of the following pairs has the first person to the immediate left of the second person? Now this is slightly different question from a different understanding. So let me explain what does that actually mean. So let's go with the answer option, and let's assume that K and J is the correct answer. So if I look at the answer option is K and J basically. And what I'm supposed to look for is first person. So first person is K, and should be on the immediate left of the second person, which is J. So if I look at J here, J is facing also inside, and I already know that facing inside left has to be clockwise direction, and clockwise is this direction. So if I look at J's immediate left position has been occupied actually by W, but answer option says it has to be K, which is not there. So that means this answer option cannot be the correct one. Let's look at the next one, W and V. So first the person should be on the immediate left of the second person. So second person is V. Again, if I look at V, V's immediate left position is occupied by T and not W. So again, this is not the answer option. Next one is T and P. If I look at T and P, they are definitely not immediate to each other. So this any which ways gets eliminated. If I look at F and R, same as T and P, definitely not on the immediate position. So that also gets eliminated. So that means last option has to be the answer. That is T and V. So second person is V, and to the immediate left of V, we have T. So first person to the immediate left of the second person. Answer has to be the fifth answer option. Okay. Next question. Who's to the immediate right of V? So V is here. Immediate right will be anti-clockwise, which is W. Clearly, very easy. Next one, which of the following is the correct position of W? And let's go with answer option. The first answer option says 3 places to the right of R. So this is W, this is R. R is also facing inside. So his right will be anti-clockwise. And yes, first 1, 2, and 3. Third position on the right side of R is W's position. So that automatically becomes the first correct answer. No need to look at the other answer option and just move on to the last one. Last one, which of the following pairs is sitting diametrically opposite to each other, that is facing each other in a way, so first answer option R and J, R and J, R and J. Oh yes, and that is what clearly the answer. So again, one more time, no need to look at the answer options. So first one is the correct one. So I hope you have understood this set very clearly. If not, have a look at the concept part and the question part or the solution part one more time. Very sure you will definitely understand.
So let's begin with the first set. So I'll request you all to please pause this video right now, go through this question one more time, read it properly, try to solve this, and when you don't get it, you get it. Maybe after 5 or 10 minutes, you can refer the video solution. So if you read the question properly, what they have told you is basically it is a case of linear arrangement, but it is of the parallel rows where 4 students and their 4 mentors are traveling to a conference. The student name, the mentor name is given. The main data actually starts from somewhere here, this particular line. Each mentor is sitting opposite to a student. So, but that does not mean that in one row there are only students and in the other row there are only mentors. I hope you understand that point. That means in one row there can be one student and one mentor, and then on opposite to them, vice versa. Opposite to a student there will be a mentor, and opposite to a mentor there will be a student. And then there is a lot of information that is given there, and we have to do two workings actually. First, we'll also have to figure out where are their positions, in which row and where they are sitting. And the second part is who's mentor of which student. So all those things are basically we are supposed to figure out. Now for that, when you start solving such sets, or when you start attempting such sets, the very important point that you should realize is the importance of the unique entry point. Because of the unique entry points, only you will be able to answer these questions correctly. So there are two such points in this set that you need to get it, because if you don't get them, you won't be able to start plotting the data from that one initial opening that you need to crack this open. So one of those statements is somewhere here in this particular line, this one. There is only one person to the right of Chatur in his row. So this is one of the very important unique entry point. There can be two scenarios that are possible there. Chatur can be either in the upper row or can be in the lower row, and then there will be just one person to the right of Chatur in his particular row. And the second such point is somewhere here, which is this one. Rancho is sitting at one end of his row. Very important this is. But now with this particular idea, you will have four possibilities, because On the upper row, there are two corners, left and right, one end basically. And on the lower rows also, there are two corners, upper and lower and sorry, the left and the right corner in the lower row as well. So basically 4 scenarios that you will need to start solving. And then the datas that are related to this, you can plot. Raju is sitting to the immediate left of Professor Qureshi, who in turn is sitting opposite to Rancho. So Professor Qureshi is opposite to Rancho, and immediate left of Professor Qureshi, Raju is sitting. When you try to connect these 3 statements together, you'll realize out of the 4 possibilities, 2 possibilities will go off, and then you can start plotting the data basically. So now I think you have got what you were looking for. So please try this with this particular idea, and you should be now able to get the answer. So Rancho is sitting at one end of his row. Opposite to Rancho, Professor Qureshi is there, and immediate left of Professor Qureshi, Raju is there. Then there is only one person to the right of Chatur in his row. So obviously Chatur will be in the upper row. Then Professor Rastogi is sitting to the immediate right of Professor Ramlingam. That can be only possible in the lower row. And then we know each mentor is sitting opposite to a student. So opposite to Professor Ramlingam, there will be a student, that is Farhan, and opposite to Raju, there will be Professor Chachar. So this is how you get that arrangement then very quickly. Half of the job is done in terms of finding out the position. The other half is still left out in terms of identifying who is the mentor of whom. So we know one data, Professor Chachad is the mentor of Farhan. And in the last line of the set, they have mentioned something very, very particular to identify who is the mentor of which student. That is, no mentor is sitting opposite or to the adjacent to his student. The stress has to be given on the word his student. So some people, if you don't read this and get confused, you might say, sir, initially there was a point where we said that each mentor is sitting opposite to a student, and then this point tells that mentor is not opposite to a student. But if you read properly, it talks about opposite to, not sitting opposite to or adjacent to his student. He can, the mentor can be sitting opposite or adjacent to some other student who's not his mentor, who's not his student basically. And that is where the catch is. And now that point is going to help us to figure out who is a mentor of whom. So Raju is sitting in the lower row, and opposite to him is Professor Chachad, so he cannot be the mentor. Left of him is Rastogi, so he also cannot be the mentor. Professor Qureshi is to the right, so he also cannot be the mentor of Raju. That means the mentor of Raju has to be Professor Ramalingam. Very, very clearly. First one, that is what the question is. Who's the mentor of Raju? We have just now figured that out. Professor Ramlingam is the answer. Option 4 for the first one. Second one, who's sitting opposite to Professor Ramlingam? Very clearly, it is Farhan. So option 2 for the second one. Third one, sitting immediate right of Rancho. Sitting immediate right of Rancho is Professor Chachad. That is option 1 for the third question. Fourth one, who's the student of Professor Rastogi? So student of Professor Rastogi, obviously Chatur is not the answer. Raju is not the answer. Farhan is also not the answer. So it is left only Rancho. That is option 1 again for the fourth question. The fifth and the last one, who are sitting adjacent to Chatur? So obviously Farhan and Professor Chachad. That is option 5 for the fifth. So this is how you can solve this set. Be very careful with parallel rows. The second set is also something similar to this, which talks about circular arrangement. So again, I'll request you to pause this, go through this data, try to solve this, and then try to see the video solution of this. Again, when you read this and when you, because they have not mentioned who's facing where, you start solving, maybe assuming they all are sitting facing inside or all are facing outside. One case you will consider and you will start solving. And then in between somewhere, after maybe 5 minutes or so, you'll realize that one particular position, which is already occupied by someone, is also being given to some other third person. And clearly, you understand that is not possible. So that tells you something very, very unique. And you will have to think differently now, that maybe this is the case where some people are facing inside and some people are facing outside. I know from the common sense perspective doesn't make one bit sense because they are sitting at a conference table and some are facing inside, some are facing outside. But I hope you understand from the examiner's perspective, this is like a perfectly complicated questions wherein which you get uh, stuck very easily and you don't know how to get out of this. So again, the reason why these first two sets are important is you have to focus on finding out the unique entry points. Because again, you cannot start from any random points because you don't know where the person is facing, whether he or she is facing inside or he is facing outside. And based on that, the left rights will keep on changing every single time, and you cannot make those many possibilities. So again, the stress or the emphasis has to be given on finding out unique entry points. So there's just one such unique entry point in this, and unless you don't find that, you won't be able to get this done, which is somewhere in the last half, which is this statement. The representatives of Canada and Germany are facing each other. Are facing each other, say, you understand 2 points. Not only they both are sitting opposite to each other, but they are also both of them facing inside the center, because only and only then they will be able to face each other. Very, very important and critical. Then once you get this related to this data, you can start now solving and you will get the answer. So representative of UK is third to the right of one from France, but to the left of representative of Germany. He is facing inside Germany. So left is clockwise. So UK will be here. And the same person UK, there is one more position we have to map. That is, he is third to the right of one from France. Now Canada is there at the bottom facing inside, and the right will be anti-clockwise. But the data says UK is not to the third to the right of Canada, but it is to the third to the right of France. So they are not looking at anti-clockwise right, but they are looking at clockwise right, and which can only and only happen if the France one is facing outside. Very, very important, because facing outside, right becomes clockwise, left becomes anti-clockwise, everything becomes ulta. Then once you have this, again related to this, the representative of Japan is to the right of representative of UK. Clearly, if UK would have been facing inside, in the place of Germany, it should have been Japan, but Germany has already occupied that. So clearly they are looking at again clockwise right, which can only happen if UK wala is facing outside. Very, very important. Next idea, the representative of Italy and UK are sitting diametrically opposite to each other. So that's it. Two more position, that is USA and Russia. The representative of USA is to the right of one from Canada, that is anti-clockwise, but it is not facing the representative of Russia. Now, if you look at the entire arrangement, there is only one last position available for Russia, which is bang diagonally opposite to USA. But the data says the USA wala, even though they are sitting diametrically opposite, he is not facing the representative of Russia. Now, when that can happen? Only and only when USA wala will face outside. So this is how again you get the arrangement. Once you have the arrangement, answering the question becomes super easy. First one, which two countries are certainly sitting opposite to each other? Option 3, that is USA and Russia. Opposite and diagonally opposite. Yeah, diametrically opposite, whatever you want to call that. Representative of which country is sitting second to the right of one from France? So France is facing outside. Second to the right is Germany. Option 3. Eighth one, which country is sitting second to the left of one from USA? USA is facing outside. Left will be anti-clockwise. That is UK. Ninth one, correct position of representative of Russia. That is, we'll have to go option wise, which turns out to be option 4. That is 3 places to the left of Canada. And 10th one, look at the data. If it is known that the representative of Japan is facing the representative of France, earlier we did not know whether he was doing that or not, but because explicitly it is mentioned in this question, so we know that Japan wala is facing inside. Then representative of which country is sitting 3 places to the left of him. So 3 places to the left of him will be clockwise direction, that is Italy, that is option 2. So this is how you get this one. The third set, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V are sitting on a bench. All of them are facing west. The data, you start considering the possibility where they are facing west. So try to solve this. Now these 3 sets are one of the very, very easy and straightforward ones. So S के immediate right में T है. So T is here. U is at the extreme end. R is his neighbor. Can be one of the possibilities. Then only P is sitting between Q and R. So it can be either QPR or RPQ because left right is not mentioned. So Q and R can exchange their position. And the last one is the one where you will get everything. And that is the reason why we had to, know those direction senses, because if they're facing west, the last statement is that S is sitting fifth from the south end. And in this facing west wala orientation, south end is the left end. So basically that tells you indirectly that S is sitting fifth from the left corner. So that is where S is. Now let's start combining everything as one diagram. So beside S on the right, immediate right T will be, then U and R will be at the left corner. And then out of QPR and RPQ, only RPQ is possible. And the last position is occupied by the 7th member, that is V. Super easy. First question, which of the following pairs of people is sitting at the extreme end U and V? Option 3. Who's fourth from the north end? North end is the right end. Fourth from there is Q, that is option 2. 13th one, which person should change places with V? Who wants to be in the second place from the south end? South end is left end. Left end is second position. R is the answer. Option 2 again for the 13th one. 14th one, immediately between which of the two pairs of people is P sitting? So P sitting between which two people? That is R and Q. Option 4. And 15th one, from the 4 conditions, 1 to 4 conditions that were given earlier, which is the one that is not required to find out the place in which V is sitting? So I think all are required, because we got it at the extreme end where everything was done and dusted, and the one empty position was left for V. So all are required because every statement is giving us some or the other kind of positioning and the arrangements and everything. So this is how you can solve this super easy one set of linear arrangement. Last two from the circular ones. So this is the data. Try to solve this. There is just small twist based on that. So the friends whose name starts with the same letter are sitting opposite. That is Samir and Saurabh. Then based on this, there will be two scenarios, because Jay is sitting next to the Samir. It can be either left or it can be either right. I hope you have not forgotten the basics of the plotting of the data. Next, Yane, left right is not mentioned. We'll have to consider both the scenarios. This is the point which student usually miss out. Then between Saurabh and Ashish is Pranav sitting. So one arrangement, Pranav is on the left. Blue arrangement, Pranav is on the right. The last position is occupied by Dilip. Let's try to answer the 3 questions. First one, who sits opposite to Ashish? Obviously, it is Dilip in both the scenarios, and hence that is the answer. Option 3. 17th one, who is sitting to the left of Saurabh? Saurabh ke left mein Dilip ya Pranav cannot be determined. Option 5. Be very careful. 18th one, immediately between which two friends is Jay sitting? So Jay is sitting between Samir and Dilip in both the arrangements, which is same answer, and hence that is the answer, which is option 2 for the 18th one. I hope you are getting how we are thinking and applying the basics that we have learned earlier. Last one, similar to circular arrangements, lot of data is given, and start solving this. 8 people sitting around the table. So the second point itself will give you two possibilities. Only K is sitting between F and S.
but because left right is not mentioned, so F and S can exchange their position. So these are small things that you should realize in the beginning itself. Next idea, between J and S, L is sitting. So one position on the right side, the red position on the left side. In the next statement, there will be an issue because they said that D is sitting in the red arrangement. There is no possibility for that. And that means we'll have to discard that scenario and continue with the blue scenario. So we started with two possibilities, but eventually got rid of one because of the data. Then the person who's sitting between L and K, that is S, opposite to that, P is sitting. There is just one person left for M. Once you get this arrangement, answering the question is not difficult at all. The first one, the 19th one, between M and L, who is sitting? That is J, option 2. Between D and M, who is sitting? That is P, option 4. How many people are sitting between F and L? This is where students make mistakes. F and L, between them, if you look at from the bottom part, there are only 2 people. But if you look at from the upper side, there are 4 people. And between they have asked, so answer is cannot be determined. Be very careful with these sorts of languages. This is where examiner can caught you off guard if you are not very attentive about the language and careful about the solution. 22nd, immediate to the right of J, who is sitting? So immediate to the right of J, M is sitting, option 3. And the last one, P is sitting opposite to S, that is option 1 for the 20th. So with this, we are done with arrangements, linear and circular both. Thank you so much.